Hi, everybody, and welcome to Let's Coach 2023. I'm Liz Cresci, Strategic Growth Coach, and I am here with you today, brought to you by Life Coach University. Please check us out over at lifecoachuniversity.com. We have so many great sessions. Our PIF talks, they're Pay It Forward talks. They're about an hour and they run monthly. We have a variety of different coaches doing that. So go that out. And of course, we have our Let's Coach 2023, which is almost every day with a variety of different coaches. So I'm super excited that you're here. And let's just do a smidgen of housekeeping. If you're new with us, welcome. If you're returning with us, great to have you back. And any questions can be put in the Q&A box. If you want some additional coaching and it would be easier to speak voice to voice, please raise your hand. I'll bring you up. I'm not going to put you on camera, but I will bring you up so that we can have a conversation. And I would love that. Okay, awesome. Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Coach 2023. Again, Liz Cresci here, and thank you for joining. So today, again, bring up any questions that you have. It doesn't have to relate to our topic, but I thought we'd talk today about beliefs. Beliefs are a big, big, big part of our lives, right? As you've heard, thoughts become things, right? And thoughts multiplied over and over again become beliefs. Billy Cox, a motivational speaker, has been noted to say, our beliefs determine our actions, and it's our consistent action that will produce results. Gandhi, I'm sure you're familiar with Gandhi, right? Men often become what they believe themselves to be. If I believe I cannot do something, it makes me incapable of doing it. But when I believe I can, then I acquire the ability to do it, even if I didn't have it in the beginning. Listen to that. That's so powerful, right? Beliefs shape everything for us. And it makes it possible for us to do things, and it makes it not so possible for us to do. You know, Henry Ford's famous for saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And what he's talking about there are beliefs. So let's dive in a little bit deeper on beliefs. And I'm sure that you're familiar with, I'm sure that you know them, right? You're familiar with the concept of beliefs, right? Oh, I believe that I can do this, or I believe that it's going to be X, Y, and Z. We use that terminology all the time, but belief in ourselves and belief in situations and beliefs that we carry with us shape our experiences. And it's through those experiences that we then reinforce or develop our beliefs. It's sort of a chicken and an egg thing. But beliefs are basically, if you come it down to it, beliefs are illogical, right? Because they're self-fulfilling, right? If you believe you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. You know, they're they're self-fulfilling, which means that you're giving yourself the proof, you're giving yourself the reinforcement as to why you've created this belief, and you act in a way that makes it true. So it validates it. And when we hold a belief, certainly when we hold a very, very strong belief, it prevents us from considering any other evidence that may be out there that would contradict those beliefs. And people are very rooted in this thought, this type of thinking, right? There's, I guess another way to say it is that beliefs are a feeling of certainty about what something means, right? They can be powerful forces in our life, or they could be disempowering, or you know, things that hold us back, very limiting. They're also generalizations about ourselves, others, and the world around us. So with these mental attitudes, right? These convictions, we hold them true, but we don't really go further into the cognitive, the thinking process behind them. And we start to sift for evidence to our brain, right? So we're getting, you know, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of bits of information coming into our brain every single day through our eyes, through our all of our senses, right? Seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. We're we're getting that information, and what just take out, take out all but one of your senses. As you're eating something, focus on the taste of that. You're getting a whole bunch of different nuances in taste, so that that's all data. And our brain would probably be on overload if it went with all of that data. You wouldn't even know which way to turn, which way to look. So we have a natural filter that we create, and that filter is derived from the beliefs that we hold, from what we hold to be true for us. And that's why, if you've ever heard the saying, there's three truths to everything, or there's three realities, mine, yours, and the way it really was. Um, that's because even though we may have grown up in the same family, or we may live in the same house or in the same town, that we're going to have different filters for different reasons. And it's those beliefs that are created through the filtering of that information that creates the map that guides us towards our goals and gives us the power to take action or not, right? Most of these beliefs are unconscious, and they've created from the past, like from childhood, from teenagehood, and it's our interpretation of the experiences that we've had. So in through that interpretation, our brains have created a rule, right, from that earlier time, and brought it forward into our life today. For example, if you have a baby, and that baby, brand new, you know, could be days, hours, weeks, months old, right? An infant, and that baby cries. And as soon as that baby starts to cry, somebody runs over and sticks a pacifier in their mouth, or somebody runs over and gives them food, a bottle. That baby is going to grow up with a belief, something like, oh, when I cry, when I need something, when I voice my need, somebody's going to come fix it. Maybe the twin of that baby or another baby in the same hospital does the same thing, but people don't come and stick the pacifier in their mouth or give them food. And they have to cry longer and harder, and they eventually somebody comes and gives them food. That baby might grow up with the belief that when I ask for something, when I express my need, it's never met. It's hard work for me to get it met by somebody else. So those are kind of gross generalizations, and there's those are just things I came up with off the top of my head. So I don't have, you know, I don't have real life examples of those two things per se. But having raised my own kids, I know that to be true, right? I know that's my filter, that's my experience. I know that to be true. So having that experience, I've created a story around that. And so now I believe that when I reach out to somebody, that they'll help me satisfy my need. If I'm the crying baby that got the reaction, right? And you see this in young children. There's certain children that um, they, if they carry on a little bit, they're going to get a reaction. They're going to get somebody to respond to them. And then there's those that try to carry on a little bit, but they're nobody's responding to them, and then they go along and they fix whatever it is they need to fix. And then you have some of those that, they carry on a little bit, but you can see it in their eyes. They have that sort of sly smile of, I know how to get you, and let me get you to do what I want you to do. And that's the beliefs that they're creating, right? So I want to talk with you about beliefs. Have you noticed any beliefs in your life? Have you noticed any positive beliefs? How do you identify the belief that you hold? That's a key, right? So what I'm asking today is, and I'll get to this in a moment, be aware and notice because your beliefs shape things, right? They shape things for you and they're going to shape your experience. So, how do we identify a belief? They are excuses that we make. Certainly the negative beliefs, right? Um, they're excuses that I make. Oh, yeah, that's not for me. Well, why isn't it for you? Right? It's just it's something that you hold to be true, near and dear. It's the language that we use. Should, ought, can, can't, may not, might, uh, always, ever. Like these types of things are indicative of the language that we speak. But in that, it's also certain visuals are triggering when when you see um something that maybe makes you believe, uh let's say, you go to a restaurant and you see a cheeseburger on their menu. Perhaps your belief is that it must be, kind of a low end restaurant if it's going to serve a cheeseburger. We don't know. Is that true? Is that it? They only have $10 items on their menu, or every cheeseburger is $10, or, that no high end restaurants sell a cheeseburger? These are the kinds of things that we carry with us. And I'm using, hopefully non-triggering examples here. So I do have a question, and somebody's asking here about negative thoughts. And are negative thoughts and beliefs the same thing? Thank you for that question. So, negative thoughts, and you may have heard them called ants, ANTS, automatic negative thoughts. Negative thoughts, negative thinking, if you will, that tends to be situational and it focuses on a specific problem. Negative thoughts don't usually include the solution or the outcome. Oh, I can't, like, oh, um, I'm trying to think like water cooler talk, right? Have you ever been in a room where somebody that you're speaking to is just negative? There's just no getting around it. They're going to be negative. They're negative about everything. There's no, oh, it's a sunny day. Yeah, but it's too hot. It's a sunny day. Oh, I heard it was going to rain. Like it's always negative. There's always a problem. That in and of itself is not a negative belief. It's just a thought pattern, right? Thoughts are representational information. They can have feelings attached to them, and it's not it doesn't even matter if they're really true or not, right? It's just a negative thought. The more we do the negative thinking, the more we're apt to create a negative belief, right? Because beliefs can be positive or negative. So the more we create that negative belief, because we're proving to ourselves over and over and over and over again that the negative thought must be true. Therefore, we're creating a belief. So that leads me into, and thank you for asking that question, because that's a really nice segue into what is a limiting belief. You may have heard of that before, but they are personal beliefs and experiences that were lived by the person that generally hold you back, right? In some way, they limit you, hence limiting beliefs. So they can be, personal experience. Um, for example, when you're a child, and you watched somebody swim from one side of the pool to the next, but you didn't know how to swim. And so you tried and you couldn't do it. And so now your limiting belief is, I could never swim across the pool. Is it true? And this is kind of how you have to, play with them. You have to ask yourself, you identify them first, and then you ask yourself, is it true that I could never swim across the pool from one side to the other? Is that true? Well, in the moment, yes, but as an absolute, I could never swim across the pool. Is it true as an absolute? Well, I can't really answer that because I've never learned to swim. So if I learned to swim, could I swim across the pool? Yes. Okay. So then we have to go back and look at the limiting belief. I could never swim across the pool. And we have to challenge that because we didn't have all the resources that we needed, right? So those are some personal um, experiences that the person has had that has helped create these beliefs. There's also what I call hereditary or generational experiences and beliefs. And these are things that are generally, like they sound, are passed down from our family members from generation to generation, or it could even be, I believe it could even be genetic, right? Because there's some ways that we are wired as people. Um, and I don't really know, I'm not a biologist, I'm not a neuroscientist, but so I don't exactly know how that happens. But having um, a predisposition, let's say, to, you know, um, some sort of a mindset, right? A fixed mindset or a growth mindset, and not being willing to look beyond that. But in the more common ones, it would be like a generational one. For example, most of the folks in their 50s and 60s now, their parents were raised by Depression era babies, right? Young people who grew up in the 20s and 30s and 40s, let's say here in America, right? So it was the Depression, and people who had all of a sudden had not, right? So there was no overabundance of anything. People were they lost a lot during the stock market crash, and they were eating very scantily, right? People in war torn, I know I have family from Italy, and they're still affected by World War II, right? So growing up in that environment, that child grows up to become a parent, and they teach their scarcity to their children. And then their children grow up and have children, and they teach their scarcity mindset to their children, which would be my generation now, right? So my grandparents were super frugal. They could stretch a dollar farther than I've ever seen. And they would make do. They were very resourceful, and they would make do with whatever was available. And then my parents became that way. And I picked up some of that from, more so from my grandparents than my parents, but somewhat from my parents. And I believe that I'm very resourceful, that I can essentially make something out of nothing, whether we're talking about food or we have a problem to solve. And I look for ways to do that without throwing money at it, because I grew up with the belief that money was very scarce, right? So these are beliefs that are generational. Fear, fear of failure, fear of success. You're getting into that belief realm when you're hearing excuses. And sometimes we hear ourselves and sometimes we don't. Um, but when you start making excuses, this is usually an area of beliefs. Just like the generational, you also have environmental and community, like society and social. Religion is a big one. religion is called a belief system, right? Because this is a set system of beliefs that is offered up by the faithful of that religion, right? And they then institute and bring down the beliefs to their children. There's no judgment. It's right or wrong. It's also very important for a lot of people around the world. So when you're noticing something that's holding you back, I'm going to ask you, which one of these, if I give you a moment to think about something that's holding you back, something you've wanted to do, but you just can't seem to make yourself do it, holding you back, which one of these three buckets does it fall under? Is it a feeling of hopelessness where you don't believe that it's possible that you could achieve that something? Is it helplessness where you think it's possible for people, but just not for you because you're not capable? Or is it worthlessness where do you just not believe that you're deserving or worthy of that? That somebody else might be, but you're not. These three buckets of limiting beliefs. Now we're talking the negative, the limiting belief. Once you can identify the thought, the belief, then ask yourself, which bucket is this in? And then here's a key question I'd like you to write down. What would need to happen for me to believe that it's possible after all? What would need to happen for me to believe that it may be possible after all? When it comes to beliefs, we don't challenge our thinking. And it's super important to do so because we get stuck. It's like habits, right? You start doing them automatically and you don't even know it's happening. Have you ever driven home from work and you've been lost in thought and you didn't even know how, you don't remember taking turns because it's so habitual, you're used to it. Thoughts and beliefs work the same way, right? Another question I have here, how do you change the limiting belief? Also an excellent question, and thank you for asking that. So part of it, as we just started talking about, is identifying it. That's the biggest thing. It's very hard to identify a belief, and sometimes you need to elicit the assistance of other people. That's where coaches are great or mentors, but sometimes, it's also good to do it with your best friend or somebody from or a colleague or a family member. And just ask them what they notice when it's around, something specific. If you've always wanted to uh I don't know, let's say you want to lose weight. Now, I'm not a weight coach, but that's something that's always been on my mind. So, um but you just can't seem to do it. You get started and then it falls off. Or maybe you want to be an organized person. If you've followed me at all, you know that my goal this year is minimalism. Working on it, but being organized, let's go with that, right? So I want to be organized and I start organizing and I get excited about it. And then about 2 weeks later, it's out of my head and I'm back to my old ways, right? So, what is the belief that's under that? And having the person around you to help you identify it can really help, right? So, you want to look for the justification as to why you're not doing it, right? This is your excuse. And this is where the other folks come in. They can just keep asking you why until you can get to the bottom of it. But you also have to, once you identify it, recognize that as a belief, not a fact, right? I must not believe that, and I don't know what I'm thinking because I really haven't dug into it, but um, I want to be organized, but I believe that I'm a messy person. Okay, why do I believe that? Well, because I've always been messy. But why? Where's the reality in that? Um, is it a belief or is it a fact? Could I not be messy at any time? Or am I always messy? Oh, I'm always messy. Really? There's never a time when you haven't been messy at all? Well, there was this one time. Oh, so it's not an always, right? So listening to the language and picking out and asking the question, is it true? Where's the proof? What are the facts? Not the stuff that you bring in. Just if you were to take a picture of it and have to describe that picture to somebody else, what are the facts? Is there evidence to support the opposite that than you think, than you believe? What would happen if that what would it be like to think that way, to think in the opposite way? Um, and for some people, asking yourself the question, what would need to happen for me to believe it may be possible after all, is is a fantastic question, and I hope that you wrote that down. But for some people, they still can't get past that. So maybe asking the question of, well, if I was insert somebody that you respect and admire here, would I be able to do it? If I was Richard Branson, would I be able to do it? If I was Oprah Winfrey, would I be able to do it? And if the answer is yes, if someone else in this earth can do it, then so can you, right? And that's what you have to continue. And then jump in a little further and go to the consequences. What's the consequence of keeping your belief, of keeping things as it is? Because you're getting a payoff, right? Consequence is can be good or bad. A payoff can be good or bad, right? What is the consequence of you keeping your belief? And what would you choose to believe? How would you make it different? And then go do that and practice it. It's a practice. Write it down, post it all over your house. Give yourself voicemail messages. Tell your friends to hold you accountable. You constantly need to remind yourself because this is so habitual that you have to, maybe it's a habit stack, right? That you want to do something different. So tie it to something you do all the time and make that change. They're unconscious. So I've hoped that for those of you that asked your questions today, thank you so much. It's been great. I hope I've answered your questions. For those of you that may still have questions, please write us at hello@lifecoachuniversity.com and give us some feedback. Ask your questions. We'll answer them. And do check out Life Coach University. And please let people know that we're here. We do this for you and we want to be helpful and we want to be empowering. And if there's subjects that you'd like us to talk about, bring that up too at Hello Life Coach University. You can find me, Liz Cresci, over at thelegacyofgrowth.com. I'd love to engage with you there. I'd love to engage with you through LCU. Thank you all for joining me today. I've so enjoyed you. Have a great day.